What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here. I'm just waiting for the feed to get in from CFO Sports. We're going to do a little short live stream here, just catching up with the Cowboys. So hold tight.
I think your mic just cut out.
I did. I muted it for a second.
There you go. Yeah, you don't have to mute. I got you on mute. So, because that's not the stream. So if you want to see the stream, go to my YouTube channel because that's where it's going to be playing at right now.
Okay.
Cool, cool. What's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck. Real Cowboys fans, stand up, man. Happy Thursday. Salute to everyone who joined last night's stream, man. Last night's stream was fire, man. We had it lit last night, and we talked about a lot of different things, so definitely check out that stream. But today I want to do something special, man, because I want to keep this going. I want to keep this going all off season because I think it's important for you guys not to hear from me, but hear from our community, our people, right? The people who really who care about what's going on with Cowboys Nation. And this guy really doesn't need no introduction, but damn it, he deserves one. He's one of the pillars of our foundation of what you see here today. Incredible content, the OG. He's a godfather. Anytime, whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, if you have your notification bells on, you are going to get an alert because he's constantly working, man. I've learned so much just watching him, watching his grow over 100,000, over 100,000, right? Built from his own home, brick by brick. That's no easy accomplishment. So CFO fam, let's give a warm welcome to the Godfather, Mark Holmes. What's going on, my guy?
Man, I was just wondering who you were talking about there, man. I was like, damn, you mean I got to follow that guy? I appreciate that,
No,
man.
we're talking about you, my guy. We are definitely talking about you, man. I cannot say that enough. Like, you are one of the pillars in our community, man. Thank you for everything that you do. It's good to have leaders, right? Coming into this thing, like me specifically, you don't know what to do or who to kind of model yourself off, but to have guys like yourself, also Law Nation, who really set the standard, it makes things so much easier for us. But man, we got a lot to talk about, Mark. We got a lot to talk about, man, because Cowboys Nation, I feel like, yeah, we're excited. It's football season. We're Cowboys fans, but I just don't feel that. So I'm gonna start with you, Mark. When it comes to this offseason, we had lack thereof when it comes to free agency. We still have deals that needs to be done. We ain't paid nobody. The draft was okay. But at this point, as we sit here in the end of June, how are you feeling about the Cowboys season thus far?
Doesn't it feel like Groundhog Day to you?
Yeah.
No, seriously, because every off season seems to be the same. We fail in the playoffs. They go through. They tell us how much we suck. Then get told that our draft is terrible. We always have drama with somebody in contracts. Last year was Zach Martin held out. Before that we had Zeke Elliott and his situation. We've had Dak. We've had D-Law, and it's like we keep doing the same stuff over and over again and expect a different result. And, the thing that drives me crazy is I feel like we are so close. You know, you literally think that we were the worst team in football by the way they talk about us. That that we're a 3-win team every year, but it's like I don't care who it is that they're playing because they'll say, "Oh, you had a soft schedule." Well, there's other teams that have soft schedules and weak divisions. How come somebody from the NFC South last year wasn't a 12-win team? Wasn't their division stink? Weren't they sorry? And, for so many reasons, I still look at it and say our biggest problem is we're so top heavy on our roster that by the end of the season, we're worn out. And, of course, everybody just says, no, it's just the quarterback. And I wish it was just the quarterback that would be the, I'm not going to say an easy fix, but at least you say, okay, then let's find the right quarterback. But we're not the Rams that won the Super Bowl when they got Matthew Stafford. Do we look and say that this team is like the Rams and on the cusp of ready to win it all? Loaded? I don't think so. And that all points back to Stephen Jones.
Yeah, man, Steven and Jerry Jones. Funny, right? Because right now the hot topic button, if you're an NBA fan, right, the Lakers just drafted Bronny James, and everyone's outraged because he's only in the league because of his father. Well, it's like, man, I have a general manager who's only a general manager and running operations for $1 billion franchise because of his father, man. But it's crazy when you think about it. It's just I think we share the same sentiments, Mark. It's like I feel like we're right there, but I just don't understand why Steven and Jerry Jones just won't go all in and really try to get this thing done and win a championship. It feels like they're very content. There's a lot of complacency, and as long as they're not a 2-win team, they're okay. As long as they're like an 8 to 9 or 10 or 11, they are perfectly fine because they can keep us on the spin cycle year after year, season after season.
Here's the thing that's crazy to me, okay, is with Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and everything that they just keep doing the same thing and really just expect that we're just going to be there. And to me, that's the definition of insanity. But, for all those out there that are saying, oh, the Cowboys, they're done with Dak Prescott and everything else, and Dak, maybe he wants to go, and the reality of it is the winner is making more money than anybody else. You think about New England, winning all those Super Bowls back to back and everything else. You think about Tampa Bay getting that Super Bowl. You think about Kansas City winning 3 right now. Who's talked about more than anybody else? Who's the driver for the NFL?
The Cowboys.
It's the Cowboys. And so, they didn't get there by doing everything the way everybody predicts that it should be. They did it by being the drama that everybody must watch television.
Hold up. They're saying they can't. Y'all can't hear Mark?
You can't hear me?
I hear him loud and clear.
Okay.
Check. Can you guys hear Mark? You guys should be able to hear him loud and clear. Ask Mark to turn up his mic some.
My mic is up all the way.
I have Mark cranked. Hold on, y'all. Okay. And see this is what the people had to understand was the content creators. It could be one person, Mark, who can't hear or they have their phone down and it has a ripple effect. I have you cranked up to the max, man. I have them cranked up to the max.
I'm looking at my numbers here, and I am
you're high. Yeah, Brian says he's high, bro. So we're gonna roll with B, man, and we're gonna roll with B because I have you cranked up to the max. So let's
everybody on my stream says they can hear me. So sometimes sometimes you get trolls in here that'll say, "Oh, I can't hear it," or they'll forget their phone.
It's just one person, Then all of a sudden you blow everybody's speakers, man. So so go back to it. So you were talking about it's just they're constantly talking about the Cowboys, and I looked online. I posted something on Twitter. It was something where it was. Who needs a championship the most? And it was the Cowboys, the Yankees, and the Lakers. Like this was literally a segment on ESPN. It's like, they got so desperate. They just threw all the big 3 names out there and hoped something that was going to hit. Right. So it's just like, but that's all they care about. Good news, bad news, whatever. It's just, I don't know. And I feel like that's the focal point, that the brand takes precedent over actual winning.
Yeah, and also it's perception versus reality. And for everybody who's watching on my stream here, we have my man Jay Tuck, CFO Sports, incredible content creator. Talking about film breakdown and everything else, you definitely have to go to him. See, I'm just not that good at doing film breakdown. I leave it for the experts like my man Jay Tuck. Here's the thing that's funny is there's perception and then there's reality. You'll go through and they'll raid the Cowboys or they'll cherry pick a statistic to say they suck. Because they'll say, oh, well, Dak Prescott's got a losing record to winning teams. Everybody but Pat Mahomes has a losing record against winning teams. There's a reason why they're winning teams. It's because they win.
Right.
Okay? And, here's the thing. They'll say, well, Micah Parsons, he sucks in the playoffs. He's got 1 sack and, 1 win. You know how many wins T.J. Watt has in the playoffs?
Right.
0.
Right.
0-4. And,
Yeah.
you hear, of course, that it's just the quarterback. And I look and I say, that year that Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl, is he going to take the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl? Because if your whole thing is it's just the quarterback, then you can put him on any team and he would have done what he did with the Eagles. And see, people don't seem to equate that. And I'm not going to say that Dak Prescott has been great in every single game, but I want to know who was great against Green Bay in that whole game. So I get labeled, you're just a Dak fan. That's all you are. It's like, bro, we got so many problems and things. I'm still worried about our defensive line. There's putting a lot on to Mozzie actually taking a major step forward. I hope that he does. But I look at this and I say we're awful thin. We keep bringing in all the UFL guys. And, of course, we're hearing that Stephen Jones has been kind of throttling Jerry Jones's going all in, mentality. So this is where you realize, and I had heard probably about 6 years ago that Jerry had some serious illnesses, and they had started basically a succession plan where Stephen Jones was doing more and more of the operation. And it seems like that's exactly where we are, that Jerry Jones, he's Jerry, he's doing his thing. Maybe he has the final say, but you really see Stephen Jones's footprint. He's not a risk taker. He believes in his own guys. And the thing I'll say about, when you keep talking about you don't want to overspend on a free agent, aren't you overspending on some of your guys? Michael Gallup, Jalen Smith. We start looking at some of the contracts, Lyle Collins. How is that different than – give you an example. They said, we believe in Michael Gallup, right? We signed him to, a $54 million contract?
Right.
Would we have been better off instead of paying him if we went out and got a wide receiver for 2 years?
Right.
And paid him?
Yeah. Or kept Amari Cooper.
or kept Amari Cooper, or maybe even Cedric Wilson.
Right.
And, it's kind of like I just don't understand this mentality where they believe, we can do more with less. Now, with all that said, the Cowboys still have a great roster. They still have a lot of really good pieces. I worry about Trayvon Diggs if he's going to be coming back. This is going to be a Michael Gallup situation where he's going to be rushed in and he's really not ready and we lose this season and we don't have a backup plan.
Right.
I worry about the defensive line, but I feel better about my linebackers. I feel definitely better about the offensive line, that we're getting younger and we're bringing in guys that hopefully will be the next generation. Dak, I feel great about. Dak, have you looked at pictures of him? I challenge you to find an ounce of fat on him, and he's putting in the work right now to really try to be.
No dad bod on Dak, man.
No dad bod whatsoever on him. And he's looking at, and this is what you're going to, this is where I'm going to say, if Dak's going to leave, get yourself 43 TDs and about 4,700 yards. So you walk out the door with the Cowboy records to your resume, and then you pick the team that you want to go to and go win a Super Bowl. If the Cowboys don't want to step up, then hey, let me show you what you're going to miss.
And that is my biggest fear. And I was talking about that last night. Dak historically has bet on himself. And what better time to bet on yourself when you have all the leverage, you're getting paid regardless, and you're coming off what we can really call an MVP caliber season. So it's like, if I'm Dak, if the Cowboys aren't trying to come down and meet me or come up and meet me where I'm at, he has no incentive to really move. And especially after Trevor Lawrence just signed his deal, there is zero chance, y'all, that Dak Prescott's going to come under that. Like, it'd be disrespectful. Like, I would look at Dak kind of side-eye if he takes a lesser deal than Trevor Lawrence. So it's going to be interesting to see how these things play out. Now, you mentioned Stephen Jones. You mentioned Jerry Jones. We know what they are culturally. There has been some conversations as of late about the rift between Jerry and Mike McCarthy, who was on an approved deal. And I was saying this the other day, Mark, the Joneses have the audacity to have a coach that's win 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, three consistent playoff appearances say, I need to see more out of you. But the last guy, oh man, it was just 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, and that was more than enough. So when you heard about this rift between the Joneses possibly and Mike McCarthy, what was your initial thoughts?
Well, first, okay, so I looked at it like this. The person who wrote it, when I first saw it, I said, oh, there's a rift. I thought maybe we had seen that, Mike McCarthy's been in his office and he's flipped the desk over and I'm sick of this shit, screw Jerry or something or other, right? I thought there was some meat on the bones and stuff. But when you start reading it, because, it's a silly season, there's nothing really going on right now. And so it's kind of like, talking to people, they say he should have another year on his contract and, he's getting fed up. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, you came to the Cowboys and you thought that Jerry Jones wasn't going to meddle? And I'm sitting here saying, if you weren't fed up when you let go of Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, La'el Collins, Connor Williams, and Randy Gregory, you're just fed up now? Well, I got to tell you, ask what Cowboy fan is not fed up with Jerry Jones right now.
Right.
So that's where I looked at it and I said, okay, probably. But in the end, if you're Mike McCarthy, you actually have to thank the Cowboys because you had the belief people looked at it and said, you were a failure because Aaron Rodgers only won one Super Bowl. He had a 7-win season the second year, second to last year, and 6-win after that. And then he's sitting on his ass trying to create an analytics company. The phone was not ringing off the hook for him. You come to Dallas, and here's what's crazy to me in my mind. He's got, I believe, the highest win percentage of any Cowboys coach. You could literally say that he has been the third best coach that the Dallas Cowboys have had. I mean, I know Barry Switzer got a Super Bowl, but it wasn't because of Barry. It was in spite of Barry.
Right.
And we're sitting here saying, this guy's on the hot seat and he's got to go.
Right.
So, okay, 12-5, 3 years in a row, 12-5 in the playoffs in the last 30 years. This is the golden time of the last 30 years. How is he and Dak Prescott on the hot seat?
Right. Exactly. And that's what I don't understand, the audacity, right? And I feel like what happened is, some Cowboys fans and maybe even the Joneses wanted, 8-8, playoff appearance, then we fall off. Then we playoff appearance, maybe we fall off, right? You wanted this inconsistency, and then boom, you hire Mike McCarthy in his Super Bowl and champagne flowing. That's not how things work. You need to continuously knock at the door, and Mike McCarthy has given us the opportunity. At least we're knocking at the door. At least that's the one thing that Mike McCarthy has brought in. And you think about this from Mike McCarthy's perspective, we've had a lot of injuries under the Mike McCarthy regime. I mean, from losing our quarterback and Dak Prescott and having to win games with Cooper Rush, because we all remember, Cowboys Nation, them games where it used to be Sean Lee goes down. All right, well, folks, it's a wrap. It's season's over, right? Or Tony Romo goes down, season's over. But all these different adversities that Mike McCarthy has faced, and we still been in playoff contention. Now, when I saw the report, the first thing that popped in my mind is, what took y'all so long? So if you're watching the channel right now, I had listed so many instances when Mike McCarthy was kind of saying, this is some BS. You know what I'm saying? This was some BS, man. Going back to being an offensive-minded coach. You've been quarterback coach for Joe Montana and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. You get to Dallas, and they're saying you can get your entire staff, Mark, but this guy right here, the pizza boy, he's not going nowhere. Oh, and actually, he is going to be the play caller. Right. Well, his philosophy doesn't match your philosophy. You're a West Coast guy. He's more of a Boise, no identity offense that has a lot of option routes that Mike doesn't. So we burned almost 2 to 3 years of Mike McCarthy under Kellen Moore. We didn't get to see things under full control of Mike McCarthy offensively until last year. And then what happens? Our quarterback plays at an MVP caliber. Then he has to go in the Rich Eisen interview and be asked about Sean Payton and Dan Quinn and being fired. And then all of a sudden, your owner goes upstairs and just burns a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance and says he didn't even talk to you or consult you. So there's been these little things building up. So when people started writing these articles, I was like, yeah, it's been there. And now we're in contract season. We're talking about money. And Mike McCarthy had to go get a new agent for more leverage. So now things are going to get interesting to see how things really play out with Mike McCarthy. So I'll ask you this question, Mark, because I asked everyone this last night. And I asked everybody again in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys are 11-win team this year, okay?
Yeah.
We don't win the division. Philly wins it. We loop around. We're a wild card team. We play the NFC South. We beat Tampa. We go to the divisional. We lose to San Fran by a point or by a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Does Mike McCarthy get fired? Does he deserve to return?
I think he deserves a return. I mean, if you have playoffs, okay. If you are fed up with Jerry Jones, this is the thing that kills me. If everybody here is Jerry and Stephen Jones, they suck, man. We don't sign anybody. I don't know how you can turn around and say it's Mike McCarthy's fault. It's Dak Prescott's fault. You know what I'm saying? How can you turn around and say, San Francisco, you start going down the line and looking what San Francisco has done. They are constantly trying to get better and better pieces added to the roster. They had a great defense. They go out and get a Hargrave. They had a decent offense with Ayuk and with Deebo Samuels. They go out and they get Christian McCaffrey to go to it. Right. And you sit here and you look at this. Their teams are building and building and building. Teams that lose a player, they go out and actually get a linebacker when they lose a linebacker. We just kind of say, yeah, it's okay. We can take a safety and make him a linebacker. We position flex, You get a guy like Micah Parsons who is a great weapon and say, well, he needs to also play linebacker too. As opposed to saying, let's get a linebacker. Okay.
Right.
Or what can we do? Because they're basically Tony Romoing Micah Parsons, and by that I mean, they're not giving him the weapons to go around him. Micah Parsons is a great pass rusher. He's not a run stopper. He's too small. He doesn't have the weight to take the pounding constantly over and over again. That's where if you got yourself two stand-up defensive linemen, Micah Parsons is getting 20 sacks.
Right.
You're going to maximize what he can do by bringing in some other guys. If you don't have anybody in the middle, he's chasing all over the place and everything else. And everybody's pointing and saying, he sucks. How are you going to take a guy that's got 12 sacks every single year and say he sucks? Because this is the madness that's here. So we're right now, nobody is arguing about Jordan Love getting paid, right?
Not at all.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. How do we know Jordan Love is a great quarterback?
Just because he beat the Cowboys.
But the thing about it, he started 1 year, 32 TDs, 11 interceptions. That sounds good. But here's the thing. The first half of the season, they were ass. They beat the Bears 38-20, big win right there. So, you could say that was garbage time points. They lose to Atlanta. They beat New Orleans 18-17. They lose to the Lions. They lose to the Raiders. They lose to Denver. They lose to Minnesota. 4-game lose streak. Right? They end up beating the Rams. They beat Pittsburgh. Oh, I'm sorry. They lost to Pittsburgh. They beat the Chargers barely, 23-20. They beat the Lions 29-12 at home, 29-22 at home. They lost to the Giants. Okay, and that was with their backup. I can't remember the
DeVito.
They lost to Tommy DeVito, 24-22. They lost to Tampa Bay, and then they blow out Carolina and Minnesota going down the stretch, and the Bears. Are you telling me that was a great schedule? That he's a great quarterback? Did you look at it and say he's Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
Ain't nobody after that is questioning whether he gets paid. Trevor Lawrence. Is he worth $55 million?
Right. You didn't see the playoffs he even blew. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying.
First quarter.
Other quarterbacks get these excuses, right? They'll say, well, Green Bay's a young team, Mark. You're a young team. So we're not a young team. You don't think going out there with Jalen Tolbert or Noah, and so they just move the goalposts constantly. Yeah. And honestly, it gets tired because it takes football out of it. There's no way you can convince me that the Dallas Cowboys are a better team without Dak Prescott. You know what I'm saying? There's no way. And I've tried. I've been doing content since 2020. I was like, can someone put together a contextual plan? If we move on from Dak, what's the other options?
And I agree.
There hasn't been one, and now they're banking on Trey. You know what I'm saying? Now they're banking on Trey, but that's not going to be y'all saving grace. And so, give me somebody else that we can move on, and don't say Pat Mahomes from Dak Prescott and be right back in contention. So, I just think when it comes to the Cowboys, it's just been toxic with the culture. It leaks down. And what the fan base want, Mark, I mean, because you do a lot of, handiwork, people want a quick fix, right? They, what I'm saying? If you have a flood in your bathroom, they just want to remove the toilet, get a brand new toilet. They don't want to know, hey, there's mold. You're going to tear these walls up. You're going to have to remove this bathtub. You're going to have to move this sink. Like, you're going to have to really get into your ceilings because there can be some mold with this water leakage. Cowboys fans don't want that. They think that move on from Dak, everything will be fine. Or move on from Mike McCarthy, everything will be fine. But what we're trying to tell you is that there is mold in the walls and it reeks of the Joneses. And until you get that fixed, you're probably going to end up with these same results. And Mike McCarthy is the only one getting close enough to possibly fix and find a solution.
Yeah. If you want different results, then you got to do something different. Yes, everybody,
Exactly.
I get it. Mark, I know J Tuck is tiny on the screen here because it's a feed going to his. Okay, I'm not an idiot and losing it and everything else. We're cool. Okay. Here's what you do, everybody.
On his screen, I'm just pulling the camera.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on my channel, you've seen all the production.
Go watch on. I tell you what. Go watch on J Tuck's channel. Subscribe to the channel. See, we're trying to cross brand here and everything else. So you want to see?
There you go. So
if you want to see a good looking person as opposed to my old ass, go on J Tuck's channel and subscribe to it. Okay?
So I didn't know they were seeing that, man. So you guys are not seeing the 4K quality on this side, man. You guys are just seeing the setup.
Yeah, there you go. So forgive me, okay? But
we're still cooking now.
It's still crazy to me that we just sit here because I'm sitting here thinking if Jerry Jones, I think about my own mortality, and I'm 58 years old. I've got my guy Randy Seitz, who was in a head-on collision. They said that impact collision was 150 miles an hour. He's lucky to be alive right now. Stuart Morrison, who we went down to Texas today, was his birthday. Rest his soul. I've lost my brother and things like that. So I realize I don't know how much time I have left. And if I'm Jerry Jones, I know I've got less time than that. I sit here and say, if I got a quarterback who looked night and day better with Mike McCarthy in 1 year with the new system. And what's crazy is if you take the first 5 games out of the season, okay, he had, I think, 5 TDs, and then the second half of the season, and just take what the offense was doing that second half of the season. It is phenomenal the amount of touchdown passes he would have been on pace for. And I look at this and say, Brandon Cooks should be better this year, second year in the system. Dak and everybody should be better this year because they're in the system now for the second year. I worry about the running game, but Mike McCarthy is never really the big running guy. When they won the Super Bowl, their leading rusher had 700 and some odd yards. They only rushed the ball 1,600 yards. His thing is I want multiple receivers that can catch the football. I like my tight ends because they're part of the offense. I am going to pick my poison. I'm going to move the ball around so that way nobody is really that one guy to stop. You've got to stop all of us. And that's kind of his philosophy, and I'm interested to see how that works this year. With Jake Ferguson finally stepping up, and getting the chance, all of a sudden you say, if he can step up and become that security blanket, that elite receiver, this offense is going to be able to do a lot of things and open up holes for Zeke. Zeke is old, I know that. But Zeke will be there helping out with that young offensive line in the passing game, and he'll be able to pick up the short yardage. So what's flustering to me is if the Cowboys just picked up another running back, they just got, they could have signed Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell signed for $2 million for Miami.
Right.
And he's like, I'll play, from 1, 3, 5, anywhere on the line for the team. And I know he's going to be 37 years old, but the guy had 6.5 sacks last year. He's 6'8", 330 pounds, and is a NFL Man of the Year, and a guy who can help out on that defensive line as well as mentor him. And it's like, you're too cheap to do those 3 moves?
Right. Yeah. And that's what I do not understand. Like, even when we talked about the Jonathan Hankins deal, you knew before we did that Mozzie Smith was battling a shoulder surgery, right? You knew that he was extremely underweight. So you knew that we were thin at the defensive tackle position. You should have made Jonathan Hankins a priority, and you did not do that. So here we are going into camp, and we'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
That's our biggest hole. Like defensive tackle, like we don't have enough one techs. Brian Broaddus was on, the final word. He was talking about they were playing our rookie Marshawn Nealon at one tech because we don't have enough guys there right now. So it's just like they're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks because they have this ego that we draft well and we hit with undrafted free agents and we have a pipeline to the UFL. And it's just like, why not go out there and really build depth with your roster? Because like you're saying, Mark, we're top heavy. We're very top heavy. Everyone talks about the 8 all pros and everything. But after that, it gets extremely light. So why not try to fill the void? And even last year, you knew that we needed a linebacker. And even though he didn't pan out, the moment you took Shaq Leonard to dinner, there is no way you let him leave Dallas without a deal, because you knew that was a big hole, but they let him walk and go over to Philly. And he had a game or two, but that game or two could have changed the course of our season. So, why?
Yeah, it gets frustrating. And see, the problem is, with Stephen Jones, his whole thing of position flex. When you think about Tyrone Crawford, for example, Tyrone Crawford, team leader. Everybody loved Tyrone Crawford, But the thing is he was really too slow to be a really good defensive end, and he wasn't big enough to be a defensive tackle. He was a tweener. But they looked at it and said, well, it's position flex. He can play both spots. When you talk about playing one technique, and that's what I played, and that's where my passion is, it is not like being a 3-technique guy because you're going to get your ass kicked constantly. Right. You are like a freaking pinball because you're getting hit by the guard, the center, the guard, the fullback. You've got one job, and that is just to be able to hold that spot right there in the middle. And we have not had anybody that's been able to do that in forever, and they've never really believed in it too much. We had one that was actually pretty good, and for whatever reason, John Ridgeway, they ended up letting go out on waivers. And I'm like, that guy played better than Hankins last year. And it's like, you drafted him, you believed in your own guys. Why'd you let him go? That's the thing that you go, and that's a position of need.
Right. It was a drastic need because you moved on from, Brent Urban. Yeah. Or was it Brent Urban? Yeah. Then you drafted Ridgeway, who I was excited about coming from Arkansas.
After and you didn't even give him the opportunity.
Yeah, and then after Quentin Bohannon, and you didn't even give him the opportunity. And here's the chain effect, right? So Mark played one tech. I was middle linebacker right behind him. Well, if I don't have a one tech or a 3 tech, you're getting up to the second level. And now your guards and centers are getting up on me, and I don't want to deal with that. So not only did you have an interior defensive tackles, but you had safeties playing linebacker. So people say, well, why were they able to run the ball down our throat? Because you didn't have that first shield of protection. And then once I get to the second level, here's a safety. He weighs 206 pounds. That's easy money for any guard. I mean, so it's just like, that's the thing they really didn't think about. And they cut Evans, so they didn't get bring Leonard in. Soon as DeMarion Overshown went down, they should have been searching the market for linebacker depth. They let go of Harper, another draft pick that they had out of Oklahoma State. So it's just like, I really don't understand the Cowboys philosophy and what they're doing. This is why I'm saying Cowboys Nation, we're going to have to hold tight and see how things unfold.
But the thing is, they'll still be good enough to give you hope and sell tickets.
Right.
But the thing, here's where it really drives you crazy with linebacker. It's not like this just happened at training camp. This was something that was ongoing since Jalen Smith got cut. If you remember the training camp before, we basically had Leighton Vander Esch was the only linebacker we had on the roster during the summer that actually had any experience. And it ended up being we signed Anthony Barr during training camp because I was there at training camp the day that he came out for the first practice. And this is after an ACL injury. So you've got a problem. You let it fester at the last minute. It's like, we'll just get this guy. And it's like, wait a minute.
Jags. We are the true Jags. And what I mean by Jags, just the guy. We'll just get a
warm body.
There'll be some defensive tackle we never heard of. We'll just go out there, toss them out there, and just try to hope for the best when you can go and solidify the position and where it's down the middle of the season. I guarantee you guys will be making content around Thanksgiving saying we need defensive tackles. I remember making videos last year about the linebacker position. We need more linebackers, because they let go of Jabril Cox, right? They were like, Jabril Cox going to return off the ACL. Well, then you cut him. You moved on. So you depleted the linebacker room and you didn't replenish. And like you were saying when it comes to Micah, Mark, people have to remember Micah was still green at the linebacker position at Penn State. He only played like 2 years at linebacker. He was a running back that was converted. So it wasn't like he was a dominant linebacker who had this IQ. Micah was just a gamer, but he's still going to be a gamer. But you can't say, okay, you've been one of the top defensive ends or edge rushers or pass rushers in the league for the last 4 years. We're just going to put you at middle linebacker now and have you floating in coverage and
Yeah.
space. And I'm sure every offensive coordinator at the NFL level would have a sigh of relief to see Micah Parsons out there floating in space and zone in coverage versus coming to their quarterback. So you got to fill the void and find other guys to complement Micah Parsons, and we'll see. But Mark, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're busy and got things to do. But before I let you go, man, I want to talk about something. You mentioned the offense, and I think the hot topic button really comes down to the wide receiver 3 spot. We did move on from Michael Gallup, but between Turpin, Tolbert, Brooks, Ryan Flannery, how do you think that plays out, and who do you think will be our guy that was going to be the Michael Gallup replacement in Dallas?
Okay, well, I hate to say this, and I don't mean to throw any shade at Michael Gallup. I'm not sure that it's a lot to replace with Michael Gallup because of what happened with him.
Right.
It still blows my mind that he went from, well over 1,000 yards his second year, 800 yards, 400 some yards, tears his ACL. Let's pay that guy. It still mystified me. But for whatever reason last year, Michael Gallup, it was just like bad things were always following around him. There was always interceptions, it seemed like, around him, tip balls and everything else. Jalen Tolbert, I have a lot of hope for. And I would love to see him be able to step up. He's a guy who basically started really slow in college, and I'm hoping that that's the same effect that he's having in the NFL. But from what we hear, Jalen Brooks has been actually looking pretty good in OTAs. But the thing is you don't know until you see the pads on. That's when you really start to see it. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, this guy looks great. I remember seeing a lot of people that are doing, breakdowns and showing clips of Trey Lance. And they're like, look at his arm. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, he's following the receiver the whole time. There's nobody rushing at him. And he's looking like he's, waiting. And it looks like it's kind of slow on delivery on here. And it's like, yeah, that looks good right there. But if you put in real game conditions where you got 2.2 seconds to get rid of this ball, read 3 guys and figure out who's open and where to put the ball, it's a little bit different.
A lot different. It's a lot different. I tell people, I box and I train. I look like a world-class fighter in headgear, where I'm safe. You know what I'm saying? But if you were to take that off, man, things might change a little bit, man. So, it's just one of those things. But like I said, I think that's a position I'm definitely going to watch.
Definitely.
Also,
Center
their
position.
defensive tackles, center position. I tell people I'm a huge Cooper Beebe fan. He's from here. He lives in my neighborhood. Well, not my neighborhood, but he lives here in Kansas City, right? It's not far away.
I got a chance to talk to his dad on Sunday, man. He's a great guy. Great family. It's like a football factory with that family. Everybody's an offensive lineman.
He's a wildcatter, man. I'm a Jayhawk, so I'll have to talk to Tom and kind of see what's up with him. But so Cooper Beebe. But I tell everybody this: Brock Hoffman's not going out without a fight. You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be a battle at the center position. Now, here's the bad part about it, Mark. We ain't got no one text to battle against.
Well, maybe Mozzie's shoulder will be healed up, and maybe he'll be hungry, and maybe the coaching, the change of Mike Zimmer, maybe, and this is the thing I hope more than anything else, is I hope that Mike Zimmer brings accountability. You know how many times we've seen stupid penalties, especially like when Randy Gregory was here. Let me tackle an offensive lineman, okay? And they just come back on the sidelines, and there's no ramifications. There's no, nothing happens to you, and they're still going out doing the same things. When you start having accountability for what you're doing, and you start losing out because you're messing up, you often change. And I think that that's part of the problem is you let these problems kind of go on all the time. And then when the shit hits the fan, you don't have anything to rely on. And that's where I hope that change alone helps them to maybe get over the hump. I still think we have positions where we just can't compete as well as other teams. People would rather say it's Dak or it's Micah Parsons' fault, but when you have, it's a cause and effect. You have to understand that, like we were talking about. Okay, I played one technique. There's no glory. You see the football in front of your nose every single play, right? What they want you to do is keep you, the linebacker, clean.
Keep me clean.
You occupy. If you do your job, it makes that guy's job easy because now he can see the whole field unmolested. Here comes the running back to that hole. I'm going right there right now. Boom, I'm making a tackle. I'm not touching the running back, but if I don't do my job, that guy's going down the field 10 or 15 yards. And that's the thing that people don't understand. When we get into playoff games and we've got our leading running back having 28 yards on like 10 and 12 carries,
Right.
that causes you to become one-dimensional, which means the quarterback is going to have to throw more. If I'm the defensive coordinator, I know he's going to be throwing more, then that means I'm not worried about the run. That means I'm getting double coverage. That means there's tighter windows to throw, which means I've got a better chance of the quarterback making a mistake. You need balance across the board. And when we're so top-heavy in positions and have these deficits, it causes you to lose because these guys are good. They're going to find your little weakness in here and they're going to exploit it. For us, it was the running game. And every single team that beat us badly, whether it was Buffalo, whether it was the 49ers, whether it was the Packers, it all had one thing in common. They were able to run the football against us. And that's what we have to decide.
It's a cause and effect. And a lot of people don't understand. It's easy to say Micah Parsons didn't do his job and Dak Prescott didn't do his job, but there's a lot of different pieces that goes along with it. And let's be honest, nobody did their job in Green Bay besides Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup was the only one that showed. I was like, okay, well, welcome to the party, Michael Gallup. Way to go. But it's like no one really showed up versus Green Bay, and it wasn't just one particular person. We just got flat out beat. And this is what you're saying. Oh, go ahead.
You know that game. Here's what I think happened, man. All season long.
I was there, Mark. I still don't know what the hell happened. I've never gone back and watched it. I haven't touched it since I walked out the stadium. What the hell happened?
Here's what I think happened was they believed their own hype. They were all season chasing and thinking about, man, we got to go on the road, and everybody's like, we're going to lose on the road and everything. And then all of a sudden, we get first place in our division. We get a home playoff game, and all you kept hearing is, "Oh, the Cowboys, man! They're going to have 2 home games, and they've had 16 wins in a row." It was like it was anointed that we were going to win. You had Sam Williams and Turpin sitting there advertising having their post-party victory and stuff, and I think they just came in there and was like, "Oh, we're just playing Green Bay. They're a 7th seed, man. We don't start the playoffs till next week." And they came in there, they effed around, and they found out because they came in there, they got bitch slapped.
Mark, when you say that whole week, I got snagged and drugged by Cowboys fans because I felt like we were way too comfortable. And I was saying, I know that Cowboys fans think we don't lose at home, but what I was trying to explain to Cowboys fans, the teams that we played at home, it wasn't that. Like, we haven't beat any teams of any ilk. And when I was doing my weekly scouting report and I was breaking down Green Bay, I said, oh, damn, Jordan Love is starting to play much better football.
He did the second episode.
Damn, their offense does kind of look similar to San Francisco. Oh, damn, I forgot that he was under Kyle Shanahan and under Dan Quinn, so it's going to be familiar. So I perked up in my seat a little bit. It was like, listen, y'all, we're going to have to roll things up our sleeves and really come to play because this is a talented team. What? They're young. It's the NFC. What?
It's just Jordan Love, man.
Yeah, it's just Jordan Love. Who they got? Aaron Jones ain't even playing. Blah, 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 blah. And I felt like that just got into the team and everybody was just comfortable. And when I got to that game, I remember I tweeted, it's like, I don't like the energy. Because I had some fans who were like, no, it's like, I'm not going to the Green Bay game. I'm going to the next one. Right. So we were already thinking ahead, and we sat there and got punched in the mouth and dog walked because we were feeling ourselves and wasn't staying on guard. And what you have to understand, and my kids call it aura points. Whenever we play a team, give them 5 aura points because they're going to play out of their minds regardless. They haven't won a game all year. They're going to heat up for one game, and that's versus the Dallas Cowboys. Right. So hopefully that will change this upcoming season. And my guy, Mark, man, like I said, the Godfather, man, thanks for joining on. We'll have to do it again. Next time I'll learn, next time I'll figure out how to stream to your channel both so that way everybody can see everything going on. But for the one or two persons out there who may not be familiar to be able to find you, let everybody know where they can find you in your content, man.
Just look up Jobu Sports, and you'll find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, even Facebook and stuff. And everybody who's in the chat here right now, 141 of you, go over to CFO Sports and get my man J Tuck. Definitely subscribe to him on Twitter because he will keep you up to speed on everything, including boxing.
Yeah, I'm doing boxing, man. I'm keeping y'all updated on Twitter, man. They're trying to get rid of me on Twitter right now, but I'm hanging in there. We're fighting a good fight, man. But my guy, I appreciate you. Thank you for being a pillar and an inspiration in our community, man, because I can't say that enough. It's like we need good people, and you're definitely one of those ones that we can lean on. Anytime there was a fight, I told you personally, man, but I was going through it, battling with mega radio stations and everything, and I damn near felt like quitting. I was just randomly sitting here on my computer, and I turned your channel on because I got a notification, and when you dropped that Cowboys Mafia video, I said, nah, that. I said, nah, bro. I'm saying that's all I need is for one of my brothers to pick me up and say, let's ride, and we're gonna continue to ride, man. So I appreciate all you guys for you seeing me the first time. J Tuck 151 on all social media platforms. I appreciate all the support. CFO Sports, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot more content, a lot more film sessions dropping. Mark's gonna be at camp. He's gonna be a soldier out there at camp. I'm chilling, man. I'm chilling, man, because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Me and the Cowboys are at odds right now, but Mark's going to be out there, and we need more content creators out there to give us the truth, because all Trey Lance's throws going to be in 4K. It's going to see the slow motion, all the spin on the ball, and we need Mark to be like, it wasn't that. it wasn't. It's not what you see on the internet.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
You guys out there, thanks for tuning on Cowboys Nation. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged, and go Cowboys.
Amen. Peace on that.